Well, that would be nice, Rob. That's the whole reason of bringing the winter break forward by a week to allow crowds to get back in. So that for example, the three big derby games that were due to take place at New Year, the Dundee Derby, the Old Firm Derby, and the Edinburgh Derby, can now be played in front of supporters. And it's only fair and it's only right, and all across the board, that Scottish football gives the chance to bring supporters in, because we had a year without them, and pretty much it was horrible. It wasn't great. So let's get behind this decision and see where we are in 3 weeks' time, once we've got more information from the science and from the experts, and then we can see how we move on.
Has Scottish football done the right thing, Craig Moore?
Yeah, I believe so. I think, look, common sense has prevailed. So the early break gives all clubs the opportunity, Rob, to make sure they can get their house in order, they can recharge. Hopefully they're smart and not too many teams are travelling away for this break and staying close to home. But look, I think it was the right thing. And now the interesting thing is with the games that we've missed, but more importantly, I think with the fans, and Mark touches on it there, the game is so important. We need fans coming through those turnstiles, and I think that this is obviously the best solution for that to happen.
And yet it's business as usual, Mark, in English football.
Yeah, well, our government's decided to take a slightly different route from Boris Johnson down the road. We'll see how it pounds out. In football at the moment, Rob, that's where football is dictated to by the government. They have put the cap of 500, which I don't agree with. That's one thing where I would question. I think it should either be a percentage of an individual stadium or just nothing at all, and just don't let any fans in at all. That's why I think the decision that Hearts have made, and I imagine a very difficult decision for them in some respects, but and also in many respects an easy decision for them to make, rather than have a backlash from 13,500 people that would be disappointed at not getting a ticket. I've decided to go down that route, so I can totally understand why. But in the positive, when we resume, and I think we're going to resume with a bang. You look at that midweek fixture list, you're right into the league, and there's so much to play for at the top, middle and bottom, and it gives them all a game to prepare for the Scottish Cup at the weekend, because there's a few tasty Scottish Cup ties. And one thing I would do, and I hope it happens pretty quickly, Rob, and you can correct me about it's already happened, I don't think it has, just scrap Scottish Cup replays right now. Let's just say there are no replays for the rest of the season, and it takes a bit of pressure off the calendar. They've done it down south, they've announced it, so we can bend the rules when it suits us. We didn't have Scottish Cup replays last season. We've already had a few in the early rounds just now. But one way to stop congestion and to give the people who run our game a bit of breathing space, let's show some common sense and scrap Scottish Cup replays between now and middle of May.
It would seem to be a no-brainer, that one, wouldn't it? And I think you're right. I don't think it has happened yet, but surely that would be a given, because there's nowhere to go now in the schedule, I don't think, from now on in, once we come off this break, Craig.
Well, I think Neil Doncaster, he stated that there's no wiggle room left in terms of, with the break coming a little bit earlier, the two slots that were there for the back half of the season, they've been taken by the new fixturing, the new schedule that is in place. So there is no wiggle room. So in regards to the Scottish Cup, one-off games, play for your life, go and get a result, makes a lot of sense.
But Rob, I would scrap them anyway. I've been saying it for years. I don't. I get it that clubs want it because you might get a payday of a replay if you get a big gun or whatever. But when you think about it again, if we're talking about doing what's best for supporters, if you're a supporter, if you go to the movies, you don't pay to get into a movie, and then with 20 minutes to go, the screen goes down, you need to pay to go back in 3 days later, do you? So if you're paying your 20 quid or 30 quid to get into a game, play it to a finish. Have the extra time or go straight to penalties, but just have a one-off cup tie. That's what it's all about, the excitement, the glamour. So if we're talking about looking after the fans, it's not fair to ask fans to pay potentially for two games. One-off game, scrap the replays.
It's also a dated concept, isn't it? Because Scottish Cup replays go back to a time where the schedule wasn't anywhere near as congested as it is now.
Yeah, but as well, look, I understand what Mark is saying there as well. But there might be others out there that are big on tradition, in the way that it has been. And I understand that the scheduling and the amount of games is a lot more. I understand that for some fans maybe having to potentially pay twice. But then you'll have a lot of fans, Rob, that will have no issue with that whatsoever if they're then paying that second time to go to a bigger stadium and maybe a stadium they've never ever been to before. So, look, for me, at this stage, in terms of COVID and where we are at, I certainly think for this season, it should be played on the night, get the result, to be able to look after the scheduling, the players, and to make sure that we get through the season fine.
You mentioned the 500 cap mark, and it's so obvious, isn't it, that 500 for Celtic and Rangers is so different from 500 for East Fife. But hopefully that's not a figure we're going to have to contend with too much, because yes, that's the case from Boxing Day, but hopefully when we come back, things have improved to the extent that we can get back to real crowds.
Yeah, it would be nice, Rob. My own feeling, and it's just guesswork, but if you look at what's happened over the past 21 months, I think it's probably unlikely that we'll have full crowds in for that first fixture card of midweek games starting on 17th of January when it's Celtic v Hibs. Then there's a card on the Tuesday night. I think that might be stretching it to think that we're going to be back to normal, if you like, in terms of crowds for then. But maybe for the Scottish Cup of the weekend, but certainly the following midweek, I think it's realistic to think that we could be back to full crowds. But I think it might just be a wee bit too early. I think we'll extend by another week or so, just to where there's a bit more certainty about where the world's going in terms of the current variant.
Tell Alexa to launch Go Radio or listen on the Go Radio app.